How did you make your nasty teacher regret their actions? Ever since I got to Mrs. Coleman's 6th grade class, she had this sick habit of making fun of the way I talked. See, I have this stutter that comes and goes, especially when I'm nervous or put on the spot, and this woman seemed to get off on calling me out every single time. At first, I thought maybe I was being dramatic, like maybe she didn't mean it that way, but then it got worse. Way worse. Every time I'd raise my hand to answer something, she'd cut me off the second I started struggling with a word. "Oh, for crying out loud, just spit it out already," she'd say, rolling her eyes like I was the biggest inconvenience in the world. The whole class would get this uncomfortable silence, you know? Like they wanted to say something but were too scared she'd turn on them next. And honestly, I don't blame them. Mrs. Coleman was the type of teacher who'd write you up for breathing too loud if she was having a bad day. After a few weeks of this garbage, I completely stopped raising my hand, stopped participating in anything. My grades started tanking because I was too terrified to speak up, even when I knew the answers. I'd just sit there in the back row trying to be invisible. My mom started noticing I was acting weird at home. She kept asking what was wrong, but I didn't want to be a snitch, you know? Plus, part of me thought maybe she wouldn't believe me or would think I was exaggerating. But one night, when I was doing homework at the kitchen table, she sat down across from me and said, "Alex, you used to love reading out loud to me. What's going on at school?" I tried to brush it off, but she kept pushing gently. Finally, I just broke down and told her everything. I told her how Mrs. Coleman would imitate my voice when I stuttered, making these exaggerated faces and sounds that made the other kids giggle nervously. How she'd say things like, "Maybe if you practiced talking at home, you wouldn't waste our class time." How she once told me in front of everyone that I should consider a career that doesn't require speaking. My mom's face went through about 10 different emotions while I was talking. By the end, she looked furious but was trying to stay calm for my sake. She asked me to start writing down everything that happened each day with dates and times. She also had this idea about using my school tablet to record things, since we were allowed to have them out for taking notes. The next week was brutal. Mrs. Coleman seemed to be in an especially nasty mood, and I became her favorite target. But this time I was ready. I had my tablet positioned just right, recording audio while it looked like I was taking notes. Tuesday, she called me up to read a paragraph from our textbook. I got stuck on the word particularly, and she cut me off with, "Good grief, Alex. Maybe you should stick to picture books." The whole class cringed, but I got it all on recording. Wednesday was even worse. I raised my hand to answer a math question, and when I started to stutter on 17, she actually started mimicking me. 17? What are you, 5 years old? Speak like a normal person. But the final straw came during parent conferences. My mom went in there planning to be diplomatic and professional. Mrs. Coleman started off saying nice things about my written work, but then she leaned back in her chair and said, "You know, Maria, if Alex just spoke like a normal kid instead of all this stuttering nonsense, maybe he'd actually succeed in life." My mom told me later that it took everything in her not to flip that desk over. Instead, she just smiled, said, "Thank you for your time," and walked out. But the next morning, she was at the school board office before it even opened. She brought all my recordings, notes from every incident, and even contacted my speech therapist to come with her. The speech therapist explained that stuttering isn't something you can just get over, and that what Mrs. Coleman was doing was actually making it worse. The school board called an emergency meeting. They brought Mrs. Coleman in and played the recordings. I wasn't there, but my mom said watching this woman's face as she heard herself on tape was priceless. She went from confident to pale to trying to make excuses. She kept saying she was just motivating me and preparing me for the real world. But when they played the recording of her mimicking my stutter, even the principal looked sick to his stomach. Mrs. Coleman got suspended that same day pending a full investigation. Our class got this substitute teacher, Mr. Jackson, who was incredible. On my first day with him, when I volunteered to read and started stuttering, he just waited patiently and then said, "Great job, Alex. Your reading comprehension is excellent."